call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Calhoun. Dempsey. Here. Fournier.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
McGarity. Rick.
Here.
Yor. Here.
I'll entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner McGarity.
Move to excuse Commissioner McGarity.
Support.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to announcements, acknowledgments, communications, and reports. Today we have the LGBTQ plus Pride Month Proclamation, and I believe we do have a representative. If you want to meet me at the microphone. Whereas the City of Mount Clemens cherishes the value and dignity of each person and appreciates the importance of equality and freedom. And whereas all are welcome in the City of Mount Clemens to live, work, play, and every family in any shape deserves a place to call home where they are safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. And whereas the City of Mount Clemens denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles. And whereas Pride Month began in June of 1969, on the one-year anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising in New York City, after LGBTQ plus and allied friends rose up and fought against the constant police harassment and discriminatory laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. And whereas the City of Mount Clemens appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus community, which strengthens our social welfare, and whereas it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. And whereas, despite being marginalized, LGBTQ plus people continue to celebrate authenticity, acceptance, and love. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the members of this City Commission declare the month of June 2024 as LGBTQ Pride Month in the City of Mount Clemens, and urge residents to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ plus community and to actively promote the principles of equality, liberty, and justice. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right. Are there any other announcements, acknowledgments, communications, and reports? Okay. We'll move on to adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Any questions or comments on the agenda? Call the roll, please.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes.
This is the portion of the meeting, or actually the first opportunity of the meeting, for the public to address the commission. All that we ask is you come to the microphone, give us your full name, your residential address, and you address your comments to the chair. If you would like to speak, feel free to come up to the microphone, and we'll please abide by our 3-minute rule. Okay, is there anyone who would like to address the commission at this time?
Hello, my name is Brandon Bowman, 3766 Cross Creek, Dryden, Michigan, but I am the director of the public library here, so 150 Cass Avenue is my local residence. I'd like to invite everybody here and listening to this at home to the Friends of the Mount Clemens Public Library annual membership meeting, which will be on June 11th at 6:30 p.m. at the public library. We are doing our first, this is our first annual event, so this is the first time we've been able to do this, so we're looking to get as many people involved as possible. The Friends are one of our fundraising arms. They will be doing different things around the community within the next year to promote our programs and also give us funds for said programs. So I'd like to invite everybody to that. And also this weekend on the 15th, Saturday at 11 o'clock, we will have our summer reading kickoff, which is for all ages. I'd like to invite everybody to participate in that this year. We have some really great prizes, lots of stuff going on. It keeps people engaged throughout the summer, especially for children who have that summer slide. You want to make sure that you get them participating in summer reading. So I'd like to invite everybody to those two events coming up. And if you haven't had a chance yet, come visit our new library. All the new landscaping is starting to bloom, so you can actually start really enjoying what we've been able to do. So invite everybody in for that too. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon, I missed what time again on the 11th?
The 11th is 6:30.
Okay, thank you.
6:30 on the 11th and 11 o'clock on the 15th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the commission at this time? All right, seeing none, we will close public participation and move on to administrative responses. I don't see anything on the agenda.
None.
Okay, we'll move to approval of minutes.
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Support.
Any questions or comments on the minutes? Call the roll, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Yor. Yes. Calhoun.
Yes.
Okay, general business, 9A, public hearing on the 2024 tax millages. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Move to open the public hearing on the on the City of Mount Clemens 2024 tax millages.
Support.
Questions or comments about opening the public hearing? Call the roll, please.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
McGarity. Oh, sorry. Rick.
Yes.
Yor.
Yes.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Mr. Shipman, before we have anyone from the public, why don't you give us a brief, what is
Sure.
the public hearing?
On May 6, 2024, the City Commission held a budget work session to finalize the proposed 2024-2025 budget. On May 20, 2024, the City Commission held a budget public hearing. Due to timing of the finalization of the 2024 tax rate request, Form L-4029, the tax millages were not included in the budget public hearing as they normally are. The next step in the process is to hold a public hearing for the tax millages. We have the public hearing on the 2024 tax millages scheduled for June 3rd, 2024, City Commission meeting. The public hearing has been advertised as required by the City Charter in the Macomb Daily. And then with us tonight, we have our assessor, Darren Kratz, for everybody to meet if they haven't met him. And he can answer any questions the public may have. And I think he's going to give us just a quick overview of how he calculates the taxes and explain the Headley rollback.
Good evening. As Greg said, City Manager Shippen said, my name is Darren Kratz. I'm the contracted assessor here for the past 5 years. Just a little background on me. I was born and raised in Mount Clemens, lived here for about 25 years. And then when I got married, I ended up moving out of the city. But my family owned a flower shop in the city for about 70 years or so. The flower shop is still in Mount Clemens, just in a different location and owned by a different family. I also worked here at the City of Mount Clemens for about 6 years full-time back in the early 2000s. So when this position came open through the company that I work for to take over the assessor's position here, I jumped at it. I said, it's nice to be back. I'm familiar with the city. I know the history. I've been here almost my entire life. My family's been here pretty much their entire life, so it was a good choice for me to come back here. But now moving on to what I'm supposed to be talking about, which is truth in taxation. This is probably one of the most difficult presentations to present to folks because it's pretty detailed. It's a pretty complicated calculation to come up with. So over the course of my career, I've been able to kind of boil this down into kind of a 2-point presentation, which hopefully will sum it up. And if if you have questions and so forth, I'm in the office on Friday, and I can talk to you infinite about it. So, but really, truth in taxation is about letting the public know that we're going to collect more tax revenue in this upcoming budget season than we did in the prior tax season. That naturally happens. There's only been, I think, 1 or 2 times in probably the past 20 years where we haven't had to have a truth in taxation hearing, because the second part deals with the millage rollback. I'd like to kind of draw your attention a little bit to the package, if you will, that City Manager Shipman put in your guys' package, but it's the 4029 form. It's the L4029 form. The first one is for all the city millages, and you'll note the very first one is general operating, and then it goes dial-right, pension, sanitation. Of all the city millages, sanitation's the only one that Headley doesn't apply to. That one's the 0.3 mils every year, from here on out. Actually, from, I think it was about 1960s from till now, and it'll always be the 0.3 mils. The other 3 millages, the general operating, dial-a-ride, and pension, you can see in column number 5, just using general operating as an example. Last year it was 19.2526 mils. The millage reduction fraction, which is column 6, is 0.9923. And then therefore you slide kind of all the way over to column 9, and you'll see that the new requested millage to be levied for this upcoming tax year is 19.1043 mils. And that same principle holds true for the dial-a-ride and the pension millages as well. That's a calculation that we have to do every year on an annual basis. Actually, let me back up one second. If you go to that next page, it's for the DDA. Don't want to leave you out. The DDA, you'll note, they didn't get a millage reduction fraction this year. It's based on the calculation of new loss, additions, adjustments, so forth. And just for the DDA portion, the DDA did not get a millage rollback, which is why you'll note that their millages were the exact same last year as they are this year. So they're calculated differently than the city at large. So I guess one of the things that we've kind of learned over the course of time is when I give these presentations, people say, well, how can we be generating more tax revenue in the upcoming budget cycle than we did in the prior budget cycle if we're rolling our millage rates back? The reason for that is because the taxable value increases exponentially more than the rollback. So yes, you're rolling your millages back, but you're also levying in on, millions and millions of dollars more in 24-25 than you did in 23-24. So even though you're rolling it back, you're still getting an increase in tax revenue.
But basically, the tax rate is going down because the property values are going up.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, without getting too involved in it, that's a pretty good explanation of it. It deals with the new construction and the loss and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So yes, the property value portion of it is a part of it, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate? Last year was a very big increase in our property taxes. Net, what do you anticipate for this?
Well, so at the very least, you're going to get a 5% because that's what this consumer price index was again. Some folks will notice more because they've done, additions or garages or renovations, that type of stuff. But on an average, everybody in the city will get about a 5% increase. Yeah. That again is based on the consumer price index that's issued by the state.
That's a lot.
Yeah, well, that's actually 2 years, 2 years of back-to-back. But with Proposal A last year, residents would have seen, had it not been Proposal A, residents would have seen about a 7.9% increase in their taxes. But because of the limit, the 5% cap, it went up to 5%. This year it was just a touch over 5%, but again, because of the cap, it's it's at 5%, so. I don't anticipate a 5% next year, though.
Oh, that's good.
We're already trending towards the 3s, so.
Does anybody have any questions for?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the worst, it has to be the worst presentation I do every year, because it's so detailed that I could literally stand here for an hour, but I know you folks want to move on, and everybody gets glazed eyes after about the first 20 minutes.
And the
so-
end result is still the same.
Still same.
Well, it's hard when the millage is the same, but yet you're telling people everything went up 5%.
Yep.
You know, that's hard to explain to people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky part, is that, you know, the average person looks at it and says, okay, well, the millage went down, how can I be paying more in property
Right.
taxes? Well, you know, there's a lot to that, but the CPI is a big portion of it.
Right.
And we could all debate how it all works,
That's
but
right.
we're not going to change the outcome.
No,
No.
But it is a very big increase, 2
it
years
is.
in a row.
It's-
Yeah.
yeah.
It-
2
it's
years in a
just-
row.
And it's a big number to start with, so 5%
Yeah.
of a big number is a really difficult number for
Yep.
the community.
Yeah, I mean, that unfortunately is something
Homeowners.
that the state establishes annually, and the community has they have no authority to deviate from that percentage. So that you folks couldn't sit up here and say, well, we're only going to do 3%. That's just, it's not the way it works, but.
So if we want the tax structure to change, then you have to contact your state representative and your
Correct,
state
right,
senator,
yep,
because
yep.
they're the
Yeah,
ones who
yeah,
have.
just to be clear, you guys have no
Well,
input on
that's
that.
not
That's
totally
that's
true.
set up
Well,
through the
I mean,
state.
There is a way to, I mean, we know, we remember when we raised it,
Mhm.
and it can be rolled back, and we haven't been able to because of everything we needed to do.
Yeah.
And we had always hoped when we did it that we would roll it back. And I always remember Mr. Button's final words when he left. That was his one great wish, that we would do that. But it is something we have to keep in mind, because 5% is a big increase, and year after year it's difficult. It's difficult for all citizens, and market value is an arbitrary number sometimes. I mean, you know, and it becomes a calculation. I have property up north too, and I get the same increase. You know, it's just the
Right.
same all over the place. But it's a lot, and it bothers me a lot.
Well, it just adds to everything else that's gone up for the,
Yes.
you know, for residents. It's 5% here, 4% here, everything is going up, and it's just, does it stop?
Yep.
For sure.
Well, we appreciate your presentation.
We don't mean to kill the messenger.
No, I mean, it is, I
And
mean,
you wanted
that's
this job.
that's part of the job, right? I mean, it is what it is, but.
Definitely is.
And it is not something you can explain very thoroughly in a meeting like this.
Yeah.
You know, but it's required, and so here we are.
Well, at this point, this is a public hearing, so we do invite the public at this time to come up to the microphone again, give us your full name, residential address, and abide by our 3-minute rule. If you have any thoughts on the tax rates, tax millage rates. Yeah.
Shock.
We get it.
See what I mean?
Darren, that's all, right? Commercial, everything, it's just straight across? 5%?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, yep.
Okay. All right, seeing none, we will, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the City of Mount Clemens.
I move to close the public hearing for the City of Mount Clemens 2024 tax millage.
Support.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Darren, for being the bearer of bad news.
What's that?
Thank you for being the bearer of bad news.
Well, that's what us assessors do. It's our expertise.
At least it won't be a shock now when we
Right.
get that pile in the mail.
Exactly. All right, anybody else have any questions? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Crop,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor. Yes. Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
We do not have or we will, at the next meeting, approve them, or?
No, that's
it's
part
just
of
done?
approving the budget
Okay,
later.
okay. We don't need an additional separate motion then?
No.
Okay. All right, we will go ahead and move on to item B, the ice arena study. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the ice arena study agreement with Plant Moran Real Point as presented.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Shipman.
Following the May 6, 2024 budget work session, the City Commission directed administration to look into options to alleviate the debt problems with the ice arena. Due to the bond payment and needed parking lot replacement, the arena will be running in a deficit for several years to come. The arena has faced this situation many times in its history. Administration is recommending engaging Plant Moran Real Point to conduct a study of the arena. The scope of the study would include evaluating potential options for the arena and how the arena fits into the context of the city's other community recreational offerings, while identifying where overlaps exist and efficiencies might be created through collaboration. To study the arena operation for efficiency and performance, to look into converting the arena to another community use, and to look at redevelopment of the arena property. Plant Moran Real Point is a full-service real estate advisor. The firm's comprehensive end-to-end industry-specific specialization spans clients' real estate needs from consulting and transactions to capital projects and development advisory. They have performed extensive work for Macomb County and are very familiar with Mount Clemens. And then also with us tonight, we have Doug Smith and Robert Stempian from Real Point. Doug, I'm not going to put you on the spot if you want to say something in advance, but they're obviously here to answer any questions.
Abby, come up to the.
Grateful to be here this evening, Commissioners, and I'm with Robert Stempian from my office as well. Glad to answer any questions that you have. Just by way of background, I've been with Plant Moran 7 years. I'm not an accountant. I'm from the private real estate development side. In our business, I work in our consulting practice, and largely in that consulting practice, I work with special purpose assets across the country, educational facilities, conference centers, convents, interesting real estate that people are interested in trying to optimize and redevelop. And I mentioned Robert. Robert has particular expertise that he brings to the table in the operations and development of ice arenas.
So, hello everybody. My name is Robert Stempian with Plant Moran Real Point. I'm a senior vice president, and I've been with the firm for approximately 7 years. Some of my background: I'm a registered architect. My father's an architect, just retired about 3 months ago. He's 93. So I don't plan on working that long, but I do have a certain passion for ice arenas. My first one I worked on was Compton Ice Arena in Notre Dame. Worked a little bit on the Little Caesars Arena. I recently did 2 feasibility studies, one for the city of Birmingham and the other one was for Redford Township. So I have a good understanding of these arenas, which are very unique as far as how they operate, with how they capture revenue, what their expenses are, what kind of works in this market. A lot of these rinks were built in the 70s. I think your rink was built in 94, but it is 30 years old. It has 2 sheets of ice, which is not uncommon. But in order to run these facilities efficiently, you have to, of course, look at your revenue stream to offset your expenses. So we have extensive market knowledge in this arena, and we'd love to help you out with this particular project.
Okay, questions, comments?
I have some.
Okay, great.
Probably not for Plant Moran, but thank you very much. I know that I'm new to this table, so there's been a long history with the ice arena, so some of it might just be me not being involved with all the conversations. But I want to make sure, or I want to voice my concern that this is a large sum of money for the feasibility study, $45,000. I like that they think they could help the ice arena. I just want to make sure that we have worked with the management company, that they, that we want to help them succeed. It talks about looking for efficiency and performance, and I think, thank you, Mr. Shipman, I think you did do what the commission asked, which was give us some direction or, have some plan. but I'm hearing that they do run a good business, that they pay their bills, that they're efficient, that they lease out all the areas that they can. I'm not saying that they don't need help, but I'm not convinced that the price tag of the feasibility study is what we need to try and figure out whether this can be a decision we work together on. I know ice arenas are unique, and it's a unique situation for the city to own the ice arena, but it does bring a lot of people to Mount Clemens, and it does bring recreation to a city that struggles to provide recreation. And I just want to make sure that we have worked with the stakeholders that are part of the arena. I'm not sure how involved they have been up to this point, and if this is new information for them, but I myself am not, I'm trying to understand how spending that money on the feasibility study will give us the next action step. Like, if we're going to spend all that money, then are we committed to doing what the study says?
Yeah, well, I can talk on the background. I mean, if we really want to look at my involvement in this, was the previous year's budget workshop when it came up that the arena was not going to be able to make the bond payment because of the interest that was now going to come into play. And so basically at that point was directed, we got to figure something out. So the first step in my mind was to see if the arena could figure this out on their own. So we had a meeting and we incorporated them into our normal budget process because they weren't necessarily a part of that. So the budget process is the department heads, they turn in a budget. We sit down, we have workshops, we discuss it with them, and part of that is also a capital improvement plan. And so we actually, and everybody at the arena is great. And when I met with them, I'm not an expert on arenas, but, I feel like their heart's in it, they're doing a good job. They're renting out every possible space they can, but also admittedly by them, right, you can only sell so much ice time, right? And with 2 sheets of ice, that can be limited. So then I actually had, after the budget workshops, had them work with our accountant, Danielle, to see if we could come up with some way, to make this bond payment. And then now we had the parking lot issue as well, which the original bond was supposed to include the parking lot, but the cost overruns didn't allow that. So the parking lot was not done as part of that original bond issue. And so we had gone out to bid for that in 2022. It was $400,000. We can expect that to be about $500,000 today. And so what they were able to come up with is if we could do the parking lot, which we'd have to bond it again, right? So we're looking at basically 20 years of payments between the original bond and the parking lot, is that they could pay back half of it in 40 years at $60,000 a year would be the best they could possibly hope to do. So in that 40 years, we're going to need to redo the parking lot again. We're going to probably need, you know what I mean? So it just wasn't going to work out, but it was the best they could come up with. Again, working with our own accountant. So I'd been, as a backup plan, I've been, talking to Real Point, and why not have them come in and look at, can we improve operations? Can we find a way to make the ice arena work as it is? If not, can we repurpose it? Can we sell it, right? Can we redevelop it? And maybe the sale of it doesn't mean it's not an ice arena anymore. It just means the city doesn't own it. So I thought these were the areas we could look at. And then I also looked at, I feel like now I've got a 4th building in recreation. I got a city that's 4 square miles. We took back Carnes. Now, if we're having to start to fund this, I'm funding 4 buildings for recreation for a town that's only 4 square miles.
Yeah.
And this is a problem to me. So that's when I decided I thought the best thing at this point would be to have professionals come in and look at this from all these different areas. And I don't think they're going to come back, and Doug, you can jump in if I'm wrong, they're going to come back with different scenarios and like the pros and cons of each scenario. You're going to pick which one you want to use, or maybe none. That's going to be, up to you. But I'm not going to come back with do this and only do this.
Right. I appreciate the steps you've taken, and I recognize it's a business decision, you know, it's not anything else but that. But if the folks who manage the arena weren't aware that we were at this point and this is what we were voting on today, I would prefer that we have a more collaborative approach with them and make sure that this is something, if we're going to spend money on this, this is something that's going to help them, and maybe they'll be able to continue there. So that's where I'm coming from.
Were they aware we were voting on this today?
I did not contact them, let them know we were voting on this now.
I guess I will add in that I'm not sure that we need this study either. $45,000 is a lot of money. Because I think unless you can tell us, based on your experience, especially if you've had direct experience in this area, that there are some alternatives or efficiencies, or that you believe that there is something we can do. Because other than that, it really comes down to a financial, it's a financial issue, right? When we did the last bond, we had limited time. We were told we had to do it ASAP. Right now, these condensers, or whatever the heck they were, chillers, were going to fail, and we had to, there was no room for, no time for evaluation or thought. We just had to do it, or there was going to be problems. That was very frustrating. And then to find out that we did, and the parking lot was included, then to find out we couldn't do the parking lot, and now we're looking at another bond, that's very concerning. When we look at what we have going in this city between the water, we just talked about property tax rates that are going up 5%. We know we have things that have to be fixed. Roads, I mean, we're making a start, yay, but we got a lot more to go. And the ice arena, I love having the ice arena there. My grandchildren like skating there when there's free skate time. But it's a nice to have and not a must have. And some of the other stuff is must have. So it gets down to a financial bottom line picture, I think. And I guess I really want to know that you're going to come back and have some feasible alternatives for us that we might not consider. Otherwise, we're just, if it comes back down to a financial decision, that's a whole different discussion than what else we can do with, why spend $45,000 to know what else we can do with it? I mean, we need to, I just do not see that we should have to put that bond payment in our budget, or two bond payments, especially when we look at what's going on right now, what we need to get done.
Those are great comments, questions that you've raised. I think, the objective of the analysis is to benchmark the performance of your asset against others that we have some familiarity with, and see, is it performing, and what are other people doing, because municipal rinks have historically struggled. And some of what Robert will bring to bear on this is recent experience in Birmingham, where they made some changes internally in order to bump up revenues and start to operate in the black. And similarly in Redford, through our analysis of that project, now they are considering converting that to alternative athletic use. A lot of these communities, and Oak Park is another that we're starting to get some familiar with, have analyzed who's using these ice arenas, and they found that the community at large is not using them. It's outsiders coming in, which is great, as long as they're contributing in some way to the community, staying afterwards, coming beforehand, adding dollars, using your retailers. So those types of analyses, I think, will give you a better handle on what's going on in the marketplace, where you stand relative to others, so then you can make a choice. It may come down to a financial choice, no doubt, but I think you know, as the owner of this asset, need to look carefully at, is it being optimized at this point in time, or are we just gonna continue to punch money into it?
In your study, or in, I forget which part of it, maybe it was in the statement of work, it says 12-month duration. It's gonna take 12 months to get this back?
I think we just give ourselves a lot of time, and a lot of this is dependent upon our ability to get information. So, no, I don't think it'll take that long. I would hope to have it done in 90 days, candidly. But we have to sit down and pull information from you, pull information from the operator, and it will take a little bit of time, but I don't anticipate 12 months.
Because I would not support it taking a year to get this back in
Yeah,
any way,
I
shape,
think
or
we
form.
I think we just put a termination date on the agreement. You probably were looking at the MSA, which is the
No,
overriding
I was
agreement.
down
Was
farther.
the
Pretty familiar
task
with
order?
these, yep.
Are you? Good. No, I appreciate that. We leave a 1-year window, usually on most of these, and we will have this done in, I would say, 90 days, candidly.
Okay, I think that's part of the contract then, that we need to have some limitations on that. We want, if we're going to do it, we want to see it done. And
That's fine.
as far as, it was my understanding, and I don't know if this is anecdotal or based on any studies. I mean, I know a lot of people who use the ice arena for hockey. But I will tell you that most of them couldn't tell you a single restaurant in Mount Clemens. They don't come into Mount Clemens. And I mean, I've heard anecdotally that we have looked at this and found that to be true, but I don't know if that was just hearsay talking, or if it was actually a study or
Well, I like to call it not a deep dive, but the Placer AI study was done, and that's what it showed.
a what study?
Placer AI.
That's the cell phone, like
Yeah.
how many cell phone users are going from this area to this area kind of thing.
Tracks the
I
movement
mean,
of
I
people.
would tend to agree with you. I think that people come here and leave, but, I mean, we do know that, I mean, you've been out in places in Mount Clemens where they're having their party or their meetings. Like, I do see a lot of ice arena folks when I'm in the Mount Clemens restaurants. You know, they have their events there. And I know it doesn't serve our community. I mean, ice arenas it's a pretty pricey sport, and that's not maybe, but I also don't know, because from history, like if we've really worked to promote that, you know, do the people who come there get half off an appetizer at Bass City or whatever? Like, what are we doing to draw I don't even know how many people go to the ice arena. But I also think these are some things we could do ourselves. And I'm not certain that a year-long or less feasibility study for this price tag is what we need.
I think-
Yeah. How do we get past the question is, can we do anything there that would enable the ice arena management company to make these bond payments? I mean, that's really, to me, what is bottom line. I mean, that can, the last few years, it's my understanding, they've just made it. I mean, for a couple years prior, they were not even making, we had to subsidize, I believe, operations during COVID and others. So I guess the question is, do you believe you can come up with some, because it is a finite space, and I do have some experience with ice arenas, and the only really successful one was much bigger, had a restaurant, could do other events, and that one made money. But I have yet to see any of the others that are pretty much focused on hockey make money. And do you really believe that this is going to provide us with beneficial information to make that decision? Because $45,000 is a lot of money.
I'll let you answer that, and then Commissioner Kelly has a statement too.
Yeah, this is a benchmarking exercise. I think there are successful arenas in this market. How you define success, if you define it by bottom line. And Robert, please feel free to jump in. It is a struggle in many cases, and a lot of these rinks are looking for alternative solutions. And what we would hope to bring to the table is kind of best practices here from the arenas that we assess. And amongst those that Robert mentioned, I'll add that we are doing all the work for a major hockey franchise team here in Detroit, and have worked for Olympia Development for a long time, and looking at not only professional but amateur arenas and their operations. So our hope would be to benchmark this against operations across the state and probably the Midwest as well. I think we'll have those resources, and bring to you a series of things that you can go to the operator with and suggest as potential improvements, or here's the way other communities have dealt with this situation. Have you thought of this? It's really an opportunity for you to step in and do exactly what you're saying, I think, with the context of looking at all these other communities, all these other rinks, and seeing, okay, what creative things have they done to bring a revenue stream, different revenue streams in.
And perhaps looking at best practices with ice arenas, a lot of municipalities want a cost-neutral ice arena because it's a benefit to the community. But you'll find that most participants in an ice arena are from outside of the immediate city or municipality, and that's really what I guess makes them operate. For instance, Fraser has a huge capture area. But it's a different location. They have restaurants right across the street from there. Same with the city of Birmingham. They just opened a restaurant across the street from that facility, which is doing really well. They have a small studio-sized rink that they rent out for birthday parties. So if you have a birthday party, you have to rent out the ice rink, the studio rink. So there's revenue capturing opportunities that we can provide within this report to kind of offset your expenses. When it comes to utilities, your biggest expense will be electrical. So looking at perhaps metering that differently is an option. We can't really say for sure because we haven't really dug deep into this. But what we're trying to achieve here with the report is to benchmark against other facilities that have been successful. So at Birmingham, they decided to go ahead and do a major renovation. Improve the locker rooms with an expansion, a meeting room off of the studio rink for the birthday parties, which has become very successful. Over at Redford, the demographic there has changed quite a bit, so they're considering converting that facility into a basketball venue along with batting cages. So they have a large space to fit those type of amenities. So every ice arena is unique, so it's hard to say, what's going to work and what's not going to work until we start diving deeper into the program.
Commissioner Calhoun, you had a comment.
Well, you covered
Okay.
most of that. It's just- oh.
I have a couple
Yeah,
questions.
Commissioner
and some
Dempsey, yeah,
concerns.
of course.
One of my concerns is when we received your contract and everything, it was so broad. I mean, basically, you're going to take a look and let us know you need to sell it, you need to turn it into this, you need to do this and this. I would have preferred to see a study working with the ice arena management to see how they can work to have a more efficient way of operating. We know that it was never going to make a lot of money. It was something that was put into the community for if it held its own, that was fine. Now, if I remember, and I went back and looked at some of the meetings when you voted to do the bond for the chiller, at that time the city manager indicated that that's what was needed, and he said in his words that the ice arena was a real asset to Mount Clemens. So if you hadn't done the chillers, you still would have had to pay a large bond debt that you had. So by doing the chillers, at least you were getting revenue in to help pay for that. So I mean, to say, well, we shouldn't have done that, maybe that wasn't right. But anyway, I guess I'm just looking at working with them to see how we can better utilize what we have right there. I know there's a deed restriction that's on part of that property that you can't sell it. It stays with the city of Mount Clemens for recreational purposes only. So I don't know what part of the building that deed restriction is on, or what part of, but I know that that's there because we went through that a long time ago. So I guess when I read this, I was more concerned that it was more of a study to look at how we can get rid of it, how we can turn it into something else. And I didn't feel comfortable with that because I would like to give the management and the city an opportunity to see what we can do, since I don't think that step has been taken to sit down. I know you said in the budget process you sat with them, but not to brainstorm or, you know, take a look at some of the other ice arenas, because they do deal with every other ice arena in Michigan with the tournaments and that. So I'm not really for taking a look at what we can do with the building, how we can get rid of it, how we can sell it. I really want to see the emphasis put on how we can operate what we have efficiently. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Commissioner?
And by the way,
Oh,
they
go ahead.
do. When you say the people from the ice arena do not come downtown, that is totally wrong. They absolutely come to at least 4 of the restaurants that I'm familiar with. They're there all the time, and so do the people from the tournaments, because I was involved in tournaments a few years back, so we did use downtown.
I
I
can only
suspect
tell
they're
you
not
what
coming-
place area I said.
Right.
so.
I know.
Well, I suspect they're not coming straight from the ice going downtown.
They may not, but they're downtown.
Yeah. So, of these 4 opportunity or options presented, I'm not so sure that all 4 of them are actually options. If we're looking at, like, I mean, although if it's deed restricted recreation, then I don't know, but like, I don't think we need another basketball court there, because we've got the rec center right there. So converting it to something else, I don't know what we could convert it to that would actually be more beneficial to the city than having an ice arena, other than either salvaging it as an ice arena, or I don't know what else we could do with it realistically, given that we've already got the other rec center right there. So I don't know if we do something with that then, or
Well, the other rec
And
center is
maybe-
not sports oriented at all. It's all meeting rooms.
But maybe we should
No.
look at, we've all said 4 buildings is a lot for this city. It clearly is, we know that. And it's a drain on the budget, and all these buildings need work. I mean, there hasn't been any money put into Wilson in a long time. We did put some money into the Grossbeck facility, but obviously
much, just
it
steps.
needs a lot more. And we're not making any money on the recreation. Maybe we need a study to figure out what to do with all these buildings and what we're doing. Maybe it has to be inclusive of the whole picture versus just the ice arena. No, I didn't think about this until right now.
Well, I
but-
think that's what one had some bearing of, where it says evaluating potential options for the arena and how the arena fits in the context of the city's other recreational offerings. So I think that's the point, is to look at the 4 buildings and say, okay, this is,
Well, I don't think they're gonna go to the other buildings and give us any input on those. It's
I
to
didn't
see
hear
how
this out of this.
how overlaps exist, maybe. So that, that could be interpreted more
That's
than
how I
one way.
interpret it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, you know, we spoke with Greg about that, and that is part of the scope. To take a look at those other buildings and try to understand holistically what your offerings are, where there's some duplication, replication as well, and where, you know, there might be some efficiencies from operating a little bit differently. I'm not familiar with those buildings and what goes on, but we'll go take a
Efficiencies.
look at those.
Operating the other buildings more efficiently, or just the ice?
Well, I'm not sure how they're programmed, but if there's some duplication in programming,
Well, I don't think there's
or some
duplication.
consolidation that could be done.
I mean, no other building has ice, so it's,
Okay.
I don't think it's duplication in that type of programming, but it's the program of recreation for the whole city. I mean, if I don't even think we include or think of the ice arena as part of the rec. We don't. It's different. It's separate.
they're very much, separated.
If it was converted, might it take the place of some of the other buildings? if it was converted to another use. I'm just, again, I'm speculating because I don't know how all those buildings are used, but I think the intent is to say, hey, can we not limit our programming but consolidate it into fewer buildings so our overall operating expenses are not quite as large. Not pulling back programming, but just trying to consolidate and using less real estate, candidly, and having less brick and mortar to be responsible for.
I'm more confused than when we started the conversation.
I think the scope has to really be clear for us. And if, to the extent that you can help us with that, we appreciate it, because that's clearly weighing on all of us. I think we're all looking at that. So if the scope is to look at, how much are you planning to look at the other 3 buildings? I mean, I can't imagine you're going over to Wilson and checking out their gym and giving me,
Well, I mean, I think the intent was to think through, how are each of those buildings programmed? For example, is there a gym? Is there an ice arena? Is there a focus on tennis? To take a look at, when I say programming, what the purpose of those buildings is, and looking at those all in context of overall recreational offering for the city, and giving, Greg and you some thoughts about how you might consolidate those. So I do intend, and it was our intent, to go look at those offerings and understand those, and try to formulate an understanding of what the full package is for recreation. So,
From what you just said, I'm not sure that's something we don't already know. It's we're not talking about a huge recreation department, a lot of offerings, like we know where maybe our gaps are, so.
okay.
But I do think for me, the thing that's missing is working with the management company to make sure we're all hearing that they don't feel they can make the payments or follow through on their commitment, or how we word that contract, and work with them, whether that means bringing in somebody to support them, but see if there's a way to improve that before the scope of this project.
I thought we did know that, though. You have had that
Well,
discussion with them,
the other
right?
thing is, they're not going to be able to do the study without working with them to find out how they operate, and, I mean, that's
Yeah.
going to be part of this, and yes, I paid our accountant to work with them to come up with the best-case scenario, which was presented at the budget hearing when we did the
Yeah, really, the intent of
budget
that-
workshop.
of item A is really to bring, ideally, to them and you, look, have you thought of these other potential options here? What are the obstacles to potentially looking at these as ways of raising revenues here to help the city cover the debt service and the capital costs?
Yeah, I can't imagine the current management group isn't acutely aware of these issues. They'd have to had their head in the sand. I mean, because we've talked about it many times, and I remember having them here back when we did the chillers, and so they have to be aware that these bond payments and the necessity to do the parking lot is going to cost somebody some money. And right now, the only place that's gonna come out of is the city, out of our budget. And that's, to me, that's the bottom line problem here.
So the operation of the ice arena, is that year-round, or do you have to shut it down during the summer?
It's year-round.
Year-round.
I think
Okay,
they only
so it
shut
has
it
a
down for like 2 weeks or something
So,
like that.
well,
Yeah.
usually that's the case if they have a subsoil, they don't have a subsoil heating system. So you have continuous use, otherwise you get permafrost in the ground. So, we have to look at, of course, the revenue stream associated with it. Is it market? How does it compare to other arenas? Do you have tournaments? What is your Maha capture area for your youth hockey? Because that plays a factor as far as how you capture folks within the community, depending on those boundaries. And really, a lot of these facilities are turning towards these summer programs, the camps and whatever, to support the ice time, because that's usually, you know, the slower period, and to make sure that those programs are in place so that you capture that revenue to keep the operation of the rink going. So there's a lot of things that we've, you know, learned over the years and studied with these other facilities, whether it's Novi, Farmington Hills, like I mentioned, Birmingham and Redford, but, you know, there's other rinks that we've studied to find out how are they operating. Birmingham has one sheet of ice with a small studio rink. Your Farmington Hills, Novi, 2 sheets of ice, similar to what you have. Your facility is about 65,000 square feet, which is about the right size for a 2-sheet operation. But, you know, we're finding that there are some, you know, efficiencies with these facilities, and, you know, how are the mechanical controls set up in order to have an efficient operation with ice, you know, the temperature, what happens at night, do you lower or raise the temperature? All these things kind of factor into the utility costs associated with the rink that we can perhaps suggest and might improve the performance for your ice arena.
At this time, we can, I mean, I will offer, we can table this and have our city administration better define the scope of what we're talking about here. I mean, this is something that, I mean, everybody feels that that's the direction. They can better define what the direction of the study is, instead of the 4 points, maybe breaking those down a little bit further. We can fix the timeline from all this feedback. If that's, but I didn't make the motion.
No, you can't make the
So
motion.
if somebody would like to.
So that would be move to table the.
Well, who moved?
Oh, shoot. Rick.
Rick,
Pick it up.
okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
move to table the motion of the ice.
Well, wait, he made the motion, and so that's on the table, so he needs to either amend it, amend your motion, and then the person who supported it has to agree, or we have to vote on it, it has to decline, we have to decline it, and then we can then move to table it.
So
Because
you're
amending it
right
with-
now, your motion is, I move to approve the ice arena study agreement. So either you need to amend it to say, I move to table the study agreement
Well,
with
I
Plant
will-
Moran.
So moved.
Okay. Kathy, you got it? Okay, now, does the person who supported?
Mr. Calhoun.
Okay. Do you,
Yes.
okay. Okay, all right. So at this point, what we're voting on is to table the ice arena study agreement with Platt and Moran Real Point as presented, and have city administration revise the scope and timeline, right, of the current agreement. Good? Okay, all right. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, now we'll call the roll, please.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crap.
Yes. Okay, we will move on to, sorry.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
very much
there's no
for coming out.
reflection on you.
We
No,
appreciate the dialogue.
We
I know
learned
you
a
did
lot
great.
tonight, thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to, sorry, my agenda is not loading. Does anybody have a paper agenda? There we go. Okay, never mind. We'll move on to item C, consideration of a Brownfield plan and tax capture sharing agreement for 1 North River Road and adjacent parcels. I'll entertain a motion.
Try to get there.
I'm trying to get there.
Sorry, everybody's Wi-Fi is moving slowly.
Move to adopt the resolution approving a brownfield plan for 1 North River Road and adjacent parcel, and approve a tax capture sharing agreement with the Downtown Development Authority.
Support.
Barb's Wi-Fi is working good.
Yeah, Wi-Fi works the best, Barb. Mr. Shipman.
Manchester Mount Clemens LLC, owner of 1 North River Road, has prepared a brownfield plan to assist in the redevelopment of this property and 2 adjacent parcels. Pursuant to the Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, the City Commission held a public hearing on May 20th to hear comments related to the brownfield plan. Approval of the plan via adoption of a resolution is required. A tax capture sharing agreement is also needed because the property is located within the DDA district, and the DDA has the first right to any incremental property tax revenue. This agreement was approved by the DDA board on February 21st and agrees to share back this future revenue with the city so that the developer can then be reimbursed for eligible expenses via the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. And we have Mr. Jim George here, along with Samantha from AKT Peerless, because I'm sure somebody's got a question.
Because they can answer all of our questions. If you guys want to come up, you can. All right. We can open up to discussion.
So maybe this is you, Samantha. I just would just like, first of all, I'm incredibly supportive of this, and I think that this is a great opportunity for Mount Clemens, and this is in no way challenging. I just want to make sure I understand this thing again. I think you were here before too, right?
Yes.
And you probably already explained this to me, but how does this Brownfield thing work again?
So a brownfield plan is a tax increment revenue financing plan. So the developer must incur the eligible activity costs up front, and by way of rehabilitating that building, that taxable value on that parcel will increase. So the increase in the taxable value is able to be reimbursed to the developer over a period of time for the activities specifically laid out in the brownfield plan. So in this plan, we're looking at about a 26-year developer repayback with an additional 5 years of capture for the brownfield revolving funds that goes to the city.
26 years.
Yes.
Okay,
So it will stay on the tax rolls,
right.
Yes.
but the property value won't increase in terms of, we won't capture it. The property value will increase, but the city won't capture that increase until that is paid off.
Correct. And if the taxable value increases faster, it can be paid off sooner.
Okay, I do recall that now. Thank you.
How's it paid off? Explain that portion. How's it paid off? I mean,
The total amount of eligible activity, so that $2.1 million. So if that is reimbursed to the developer in the shorter time period because the taxable value increased faster than what's projected in the brownfield plan, then that property will go back to full taxable value on the tax rolls in a shorter amount of time.
But the reimbursement comes from where?
The reimbursement comes from the taxes, and then the taxes would then go back to the city and the external taxing jurisdictions upon the expiration of the plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
After it first goes through the DDA.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the
Yes.
DDA.
Right. Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
it's not complicated at all.
No,
No.
no, we get the DDA portions in, that never gets complicated.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
get any.
Yeah. I'm just really thrilled with this type of development that's coming to downtown. We have less than 100 people currently living in the downtown. This is a 100-unit development. I mean, it just is a transformative opportunity for our community, and so it's an exciting development. So this is exactly what I believe Brownfield was meant to do and be, for a tool for a community like Mount Clemens. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
It's just a long time coming.
Yeah.
I think maybe one thing to add is that the DDA isn't losing anything because they weren't capturing anything on the property anyways.
Right.
So
But they're not gaining anything.
they're
They
not
won't
gaining
gain
anything, but they're
the
not
city
losing
does,
anything.
So,
Right.
But
yeah.
they will gain
Eventually.
eventually, once this is paid off, so.
All right. Does anybody have any questions or comments further? All right. Call the roll, please.
Rick,
Yes.
York,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop.
Yes. And we will all be celebrating when that building comes down.
Oh, we will be. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. All right, moving on to 9D, approval of special permit Ice Arena Ladies' Day Out vendor fair.
Move to approve the Ladies' Day Out vendor fair in the South Yard adjacent to the Mount Clemens Ice Arena on Saturday, July 13th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Shipman, if you can get yours to load.
It was slow, you're right.
Yeah,
Frozen.
we'll have to get the paper, Barb's copy.
It's going.
There it goes.
I know Barb's
Okay, he's got
Wi-Fi
it.
is quicker than mine. Got it.
Yeah, that's true. Mine's right here.
Crafted Up LLC is seeking city commission approval to host a Ladies' Day Out vendor fair in the South Yard adjacent to the Mount Clemens Ice Arena. The event would be open to the public and take place on Saturday, July 13th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Approximately 35 to 40 vendors are expected to participate. No city services are requested. A certificate of liability insurance naming the city as an additional insured will be required as a condition of approval.
Okay, questions or comments about the ladies vendor fair?
I just have a question.
Yep.
There's nothing going on, like a tournament or anything going on at the ice arena that weekend, is there? I'm looking at parking. I'm thinking of parking.
Yeah. If there is, I mean, it wasn't mentioned,
Okay,
so.
well, I just wanted to make sure because,
We got the confirmation of no, so.
okay. So I thought,
Parking
if there
lot's not
was,
great, but
then,
still there.
Yeah, right.
you know.
Is,
Okay.
Go ahead.
is this
Mr. Rick.
something we can push out through social media as well?
Yep.
I guess because it's a special event that was approved by you, yes, we could.
I think that would be a good idea.
Although typically, if it's a private company coming in.
We usually don't.
We don't.
Right.
Usually it's a DDA event, but.
Right.
That's why I asked, because I wasn't sure.
But the DDA could, or it's
No,
one-
it's
No,
not.
because it's not in the footprint.
No.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
York,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Okay, we will move on to the 2023-24 budget amendments. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to amend the City of Mount Clemens 2023-2024 fiscal year budget to cover the anticipated activity for each of the funds and the attached summary of amendments.
Do I have support?
Support.
Okay.
I can do that without getting.
Yeah. Mr. Shipman.
Attached, please find the recommended city budget amendment for all funds excluding enterprise funds and fiduciary funds. Michigan's Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, as amended by Public Act 621 of 1978, requires subsequent amendments to the original adopted budget for any function that exceeds its budget's appropriation. A majority of the revenue increase proposed in this amendment is due to marijuana fees from the state of Michigan, CDBG grant, and interest revenue. The marijuana fees and CDBG grant were not included in the original fiscal year 2024 budget since the marijuana fees are new beginning in the current year and the CDBG grant was not anticipated at the time of the budget adoption. Interest revenue is higher than anticipated due to a change in investment strategy and higher interest rates during the fiscal year. In addition, the amendment also includes approximately $107,500 of various expenditures, increases based on 10 months of activity to date, and a rough estimate of remaining expenditures for the rest of the year. Please note the changes to healthcare are reclassifications. The city originally budgeted for healthcare in its own department. This amendment reclassifies that expenditure across multiple departments in the general fund. Altogether, the amendment to the general fund increases fund balance by approximately $352,000. It's $449,500 in revenue, less $97,500 in expenditures. The significant amendments for the major and local street funds are related to asphalt and concrete repairs and street projects. The amendments for the other funds, dial-a-ride, public improvement, and sidewalk, are all fairly minor and self-explanatory, primarily dealing with increases to expected investment income. We anticipate this is the final amendment to be presented to the commission for this fiscal year.
Okay. Does
And
any-
Danielle apologizes because she could not make it tonight, so.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about the budget amendments for the 23-24 budget?
So I had a few questions.
Oh, okay. Yes, please.
It might be, maybe, I mean, I can always contact Danielle and ask her as well. So I'll scale back here, but I was surprised on the rental inspection revenue line, that it was down $10,000. Are we not inspecting as much as we planned to inspect?
Let me go in and look.
Like I said, I can check in with Danielle.
I don't know, because I mean, it could be the annual rental and the fee that they pay annually. I know we've had a problem with collecting those from time to time. It could be due to that as well.
Okay. And then one other, well, I'll just ask one other question. the zoning permit fee and rezoning line, if you, I have to find it. It's 136,938. What was that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the, it's probably related to one of our bigger projects for that year would be my guess, but
Yeah, I have a few other questions, but
Yeah,
I'll just wait
and-
and I'll talk to Danielle.
Brian, unfortunately, is off today. It's his daughter's 21st birthday. He might have a better handle on that as well, but.
Wait, I see it now.
Okay.
All right.
And we can also, this
It's
just
net-
has to
net
be
is
done
good,
before
so
June
that's a good
30th,
thing.
so I mean, we could
Yeah.
even
No,
do this the
net-
next
net.
meeting if you
It's-
want, but.
None of it is that material and,
Zoning permit fee, is that AHB collection?
No.
Okay.
no.
It's just a stab in the dark. All right. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes,
Crop,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor.
Yes.
Okay, the 2024-25 budget amendments. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to amend the City of Mount Clemens 2024-2025 fiscal year budget to cover the anticipated activity for the general fund and the attached summary of amendments.
Support.
Okay. Mr. Shipman.
Attached, please find the recommended city budget amendment for the general fund. Michigan's Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, as amended by Public Act 621 of 1978, requires subsequent amendments to the original adopted budget for any function that exceeds its budget's appropriation. In the original fiscal year 2025 budget, HUD grant revenue of $240,000 related to the Carnes building improvements and CDBG grant revenue of $150,000 related to the Carnes playground equipment were not included. In addition, the amendment also includes $240,000 of additional expenditures related to the Carnes building improvements and $190,000 of additional expenditures related to the Carnes playground equipment, which will be offset by the HUD and CDBG grant revenue respectively, noted above. Altogether, the amendment to the general fund reduces fund balance by approximately $40,000. We anticipate presenting the commission with additional amendments as the 2024-25 fiscal year progresses, and we have a better idea of how some of the city's projects are progressing.
Okay, questions and comments. Commissioner Calhoun.
I just want to say it is amazing that we got several $100,000 in grants to cover different projects at Carnes for just $40,000 that we went in. That is amazing. So I just want to thank you and the city staff for that.
Yeah, and we need to thank Phil Gilchrist for jumping, advancing Macomb and reining that in, because that was
Almost
in
lost.
danger a few different times with the change in management over there, so.
Right. Anybody else have any questions or comments on those? Call the roll, please.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier,
yes,
Crop,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor,
Yes.
Calhoun.
Yes.
Okay, now moving on to G, 2024-25 budget adoption.
I move to approve the annual budget and fiscal year 2024-2025 General Appropriations Act resolution as presented.
Support.
Mr. Shipman, this one's a short one.
Yeah, well, we made it through the
We
budget
did it.
work sessions. We made it through the budget public hearing. So now we're asking the commission to approve the City of Mount Clemens Annual Budget and General Appropriations Act for the fiscal year 2024-2025. And then located in that is also your tax rate.
Don't like that, but
Yeah. Right.
we can vote no.
Right. Who has questions or comments? Got them all out, huh? All right. Commissioner Rick, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So, saying the utility rates, we had talked about that. That's not addressed here as far as the gradual or spike or any of that.
No,
That's separate.
I look for utility rate meeting in August where
Okay.
we'll vote to set those, and then they'll go into effect in October.
I thought that's, because I didn't see it anywhere in here, just to make sure I wasn't missing it. Thank you.
Everybody good? All right, call the roll, please.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey.
Okay, item H, purchases and payments.
Move to approve purchases as presented.
Support.
There's not really a cover letter to read, but does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Shipman?
I do.
Okay.
So on Matheson Tri-Gas Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
the asterisk says budget amendment to be made at a later date. So this is an amendment to the 24-25 budget already?
No, I think I'm gonna have a talk with our new purchasing agent. I think she probably did not get that number, and we had it, I think she used an old bid tab, and I think that was just the boilerplate language that was in there all the time.
Okay.
Good catch.
Well, then, down there for Snyder Recreation, this is in the budget for 24-25. That's what that means?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty.
Anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Crop,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Yor,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Shipman. Oh, sorry, consent agenda, I don't see anything, so we will move on to city manager's report. Mr. Shipman.
Congratulations to Planning Commissioner Vicky Mazzola, who recently completed the Michigan State University Citizen Planner Program. This is a 6-week course that provides land use and zoning education and training to elected and appointed officials. 6 current planning commissioners have completed this course. Concrete and asphalt patching work continues throughout the city, so please drive safely, and note that the spring sidewalk program is nearly complete. Over in recreation, we have the senior walk every Wednesday at Carnes Community Center from 11 to 1 in the gymnasium. With the warmer weather approaching, this is a great way to stay fit and cool for seniors while listening to great music. Join Mount Clemens Park and Recreation for Friday Family Fun Night at Carnes Community Center every Friday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And a reminder that Friday, June 7th, our own Teresa McGarity will be at the Carnes Community Center between the hours of 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Teresa will be offering assistance to the community through Macomb Community Action. MCA is part of a national network of over 1,000 local organizations that help people move from poverty to economic stability and self-sufficiency. Upcoming events, we have the Uptown Friday Night Concert Series, Friday, June 7th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., featuring Soul Commission with Kathleen Murray. That'll be on the main stage at the corner of North Walnut and Macomb Place. We have the 2nd Annual Urban Street Fair, Saturday, June 18th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. The main stage for that event will be on North Main Street and Newt Street, showcasing art, crafts, vendors, food trucks, live entertainment, and a fashion show. Uptown Friday Night Concert Series, Friday, June 14th, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., featuring the Eat It Up Trio. And that'll be on the main stage at the corner of North Walnut and Macomb Place. And we have the Natural Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, June 15th, noon to 7 p.m. The main stage for that event will be on South Main and Church Street. Great food, live entertainment, artisans, vendors, practitioners, and more.
Anybody have any questions or comments about the city manager's report?
Is there a second sidewalk? Is this it for this year?
That's it for this year.
Are we going to be having a meeting or presentation on the future of the cable stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
For the short answer, we have been working on several different angles that haven't worked out. And so we're going down a path now that I think is going to work out for us. And we'll definitely come before you and lay that out to you and get your approval on that, hopefully.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to the second opportunity for the public to address the commission. We ask that, again, you come to the microphone, give us your full name, your residential address, and you abide by our 2-minute rule. We also ask that you address any comments to the chair. If anyone would like to participate, come on up. All right. Thank you. We'll close public participation and move on to commissioner comments, and we'll go with Commissioner Rick first.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the Daughters of the American Revolution for replacing the flags at the Clinton Grove Cemetery in preparation for the Memorial Day ceremony. And I'd like to thank our local veterans organizations and Representative Mentzer for a moving Memorial Day ceremony. I'd like to say downtown this weekend was awesome. There was the car cruise, there was the Discovery Center and the library having events, there was the Arts Center having their events, and there was a lot going on. It was great. Congratulations to our planning commissioner on completing the Citizen Planner program. If you are interested in that, or if you're interested in learning more about what a Brownfield redevelopment authority is, I recommend checking our website for more information on serving on our boards and committees, which currently there is an opening on the Brownfield Redevelopment Commission. For more information, check our website, mountclemens.gov/boards, or call the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Calhoun.
The one thing you didn't say sorry, but happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Belated birthday. I'm really bad with the birthdays, so I gotta start going on. I also want to thank the organizers of the 32nd Annual Mount Clemens Cruise for putting on a great event. There were hundreds of people downtown who were enjoying the great weather, and there were a lot of folks showing off the prize vehicles, so that was awesome to see. I also want to thank AMVETS Post 29, American Legion Post 4, VFW Post 1794, and the Marine Corps League, and anyone else who was a part of organizing the Memorial Day ceremonies last weekend. I also would like to announce that the American Legion Post 4 has a flag retirement ceremony on the 9th of June, Sunday, at 1 p.m., and that's at 401 North Groesbeck Highway. I also want to take an opportunity to recognize the first Friday in June as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. I hope you'll join me in wearing orange on June 7th, 2024, to raise awareness about gun violence and to honor the victims and survivors of gun violence. And last but not least, I'll be holding office hours at City Hall from 5:30 to 7 p.m. on Monday, June 17th. I hope you can join me and stay for the City Commission meeting after. Thank you.
I'm glad to be back.
We're glad to have you.
Although Commissioner Rick, you did bring up what I wanted to ask about, so
Sorry.
that's okay. I just wanted to know when we're going to have an update on the Cable Commission, the equipment, and everything that's going on. Also with the commissioners that were on the Cable Commission, have we addressed them? And if we could get an update on that, I'd really appreciate it.
I had a meeting with them as well as the school superintendent. It was last week, I believe it was.
Okay.
Last
So.
Tuesday.
So if you could update us, that'd be great. And I didn't know if you already did, so I apologize if this was all brought up during the workshops. But other than that, I'm glad to be back.
We're hinting, we're picking up on some.
Oh, don't look at my facial expressions.
Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you.
Oh, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Yes, a couple of very tough issues, I guess is the right word for tonight. That property tax increase is just, it has me very frustrated. And it is something that I vow, I don't know what we can do in the next short time I'm on this, but we need to look at reining that thing in, because whatever we can do to, I mean, there's a lot of things that had to be done. We all know that. That's why we did this, and we're catching up on those projects, but we have to look at it. But the increase is just crazy. And it is, I'm very upset about that. But we will, all I can do is promise to look at everything I can do on that. So I think we're kind of stuck this year, but it's very frustrating. So the other thing on the ice arena, I only can say that I love the ice arena, and I wish, my only concern, as I said, is we can't afford it. It just really gets down to different things that we have to make choices in our personal life, in our business life, and in our government life. And if we can't, these bonds are a burden on the tax-paying citizens that we have out here, that money could be used elsewhere. And we really do need to, whether it's through Plant Moran, I'm just not convinced that that's the way to go, but whether it's through them or just coming up with this on our own, we need to really consider what we should do with that property. And that's all I had. And this weekend, it was jumping downtown. It was a lot of fun. Other than the car show really ended. We got done after dinner. I walked up and I said, "Oh my God, it's over." They left at 7:30. I was like, oh my goodness. But there was some diehard groups down by Three Blind Mice that we walked down there. So it was a fun weekend in Mount Clemens. And good grief, I mean, just tonight, I wrote down 4 more dates that there's just something every week, and it's great.
Thank you. Commissioner Yor.
Thank you. I'll keep it short. I won't repeat everything everybody said. It was all wonderful what you said. Love the magazine. Thank you for the Clementine. And I'd like to congratulate those Mount Clemens High School seniors who are participating in commencement this week. So once a bather, ... We'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. In the county's newsletter this month, we have peregrine falcons that are hatched on top of the county building, and they named them this year. Executive Hackle named the chick Gabe in honor of Gabe Anton, a cherished figure in Mount Clemens and the surrounding community. Among his many contributions and achievements, Anton was at the forefront of Art in Public Places artwork project and led the campaign to expand historic Carnegie Library, now the Anton Art Center. And then also they named one after Bonner Upshaw. And so, well, actually, they named them after both, sorry, let me see here. Then on May 26th, officials successfully rehomed 2 baby peregrine falcons whose previous nest was located in a dangerous location at the Detroit Metro Airport. One was named Brooke Cookie, the mother, and her offspring Gabe. Hackle named the chicks Dorothy and Bonner in honor of Dorothy and Bonner Upshaw. Dorothy Upshaw was an employee of TACOM for 41 years. She was a community leader and attended many community meetings. Her membership included the NCNW, the National Council of Negro Women, Macomb County Library Board, Macomb County Services Board, the OYAA, and Turner CME Church, where she served as trustee emeritus as she died February 18, 2017. Bonner C. Upshaw, of course, Bonner C. Upshaw Jr., was born July 1st, 1932 in Mount Clemens. He graduated from Mount Clemens High School in 1951 and attended Wayne State University and Macomb Community College. Bonner was the first African-American Mount Clemens police officer, retiring as a detective after 25 years. He was also a past president of the the NAACP, kind of different, and he died November 29th in 2000. So you can read more about this on the county's website. It was a great little article, and I thought it was neat that they named it after Mount Clemens people. So I want to mention that on Thursday, June 6th, which is this Thursday, I will have a coffee talk at 6:30 p.m. at Black Cat Coffee. Then next Tuesday, June 11th, at 9:30 a.m., which both are listed in your Clementine's newsletter, so if you don't catch it today. But the 9:30, June 11th, will be at John's Family Grill. I'd like to thank the Car Cruise organizers. They did a great event, as everyone said, but they also created a Mayor's Award this year, which was very nice of them. And it was the first Mayor's Award went to Mr. Stephen Saff Jr., who is a very incredible supporter of the entire downtown, but also of the Car Cruise, and we're glad that he received that award. I would like to thank Commissioner McGarity. Last month, she helped so many people at the Carnes Community Center on her first Friday, pairing people up with resources from Macomb Community Action and the state. And so please take advantage of her being at the Carnes Community Center this Friday. I believe she's there from 10
11 to 4.
11 to 4? Okay, sorry, it was in your report, wasn't it?
Yep.
So, 11 to 4, and she does a tremendous job. I have not seen her turn away one person. So, if you or anyone you know is in need of resources, please point them in her direction. And I think it's tremendous that she's volunteering for this commission and then also using her time for that to help people directly. It's great. I want to also mention that this is Pride Month and we had the proclamation, and I want to reiterate that Mount Clemens is a community where we welcome all people, and we are happy to recognize Pride Month. And I'm looking forward to all of the events at the library. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Support.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.